The final team is the Wizards. I'm wondering if you can guess who I picked.
Who would you? What? Let me get in the mind of Dan for a second here.
Ooh, that's a little
Hmm.
scary, but
Just like Chris Boucher, I'm gonna guess you picked KCP
no, he was
because
the
that'd
tight
be
end.
that'd be my pick.
And I think I think there are only two right answers here because Kyle Kuzma feels like he's finally properly rated, just as someone who
That's what I would. That's what I'd say.
KCP's just like, oh, we need this guy who's going to hit threes. Sometimes he'll do too much off the dribble and it'll make us queasy, but he's just going to go out and defend every other team's best perimeter defender, perimeter player, essentially, especially if they're in the backcourt. There's just the fact that Russell Westbrook trade is just an abomination, just like the original Russell Westbrook trade to Houston was an abomination. But giving up like two wings plus your first round pick in Montrezl Harrell, like, we can't. Enough has been said about that. I went with Deni Avdija. He's
I
really
love Avdia.
he is really good, and I would love to see. I feel like even since Beal got injured, even since they traded Dinwiddie, I want to see more of Deni Avdija on the ball. Not because I expect him to like hit these incredible step backs, but this is just a guy who, even in his supplementary role, he will keep the ball moving. And there's also just like a speedy girth to him, if that makes any sense. Where it's like
I'd
he's
love for you to elaborate.
it's like he's quick, but like it's not he's quick, but he's also really I don't even want to say he's strong so much as he's solid. So he's quick and solid, which you just don't see a lot. And he's probably quicker than you would think looking at him. And that translates to the defensive end, by the way, where he's defended up and down the gamut 1 through 4. And I bet you weren't expecting this. I have an astounding Deni Avdija defensive stat. Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
So this season, when you look at how his defensive matchups have been broken up, 18.3% of the time against point guards, 25.4% of the time against shooting guards, 23.3% of the time against small forwards, and 24% of the time against power forwards, 9% against centers. So that's good enough for it's a matchup positionment estimate of about a 3. It's a 2.8, but he gets a positional versatility score per B-ball index of 84.7. Now, when you're looking at the context of the rest of the league, that's not a super high mark. But what I don't think we talk enough about is he is 6'9". You don't necessarily see these dudes who are 6'9" guarding ones and twos as frequently. So I looked it up in B-ball index's index, go figure there. Among anyone who is 6'9" and has played at least 1,500 minutes over the course of an entire season since 2013, which is basically a decade. That's how far their data is going back now. There have been only 3 players with a higher positional versatility score than Avdija. You have Ben Simmons, and he did it 3 times because he's fucking Ben Simmons. This season's Jaden McDaniels, and 2017, 2018 Jeff Green. That is it. And I'm not saying that versatility equates to effectiveness, but there is value. When you're just looking at the names up and down this list, there are only like, if you even look at players his size who have crossed 80, Kevin Durant, Franz Wagner this season, Kyle Kuzma, Jaden McDaniels again, LeBron, Pascal Siakam, Jeff Green. That's it. Those are the names since 2013. There's a mixed bag there. Like, I don't think Franz Wagner, he's been better on defense than I expected. He's not, going to be my touchstone comparison, excuse me, as I trip over my verbiage there. Deni Avdija, I feel like the word to describe his game would just be optionality. And I also might even use the word unknown a little bit still, because I think there's more in his offense to plumb. Needs to be a better shooter overall, but I would like to see the ball in his hands a little bit more. And I think that this is someone, not a cornerstone prospect in the sense that you think, is he going to be the player around which you build everything? No, but he can fit on and impact really, really good teams. And I'm hoping that continues just because he's been a joy to watch. But it's him or KCP are the answers here.
I'm glad you did pick Avdia though, because I think the ball's got to go in more. That's just, that's obvious from 2 and from 3. 3, I guess, especially if you really want him to be something. But no, I think it is hard to describe. There is something about him. He feels like just comfortable, which is just, moving around, whether he has the ball on, off it or on it. He seems like he I don't know. It's an indefinable quality. It just seems like he sort of knows what to do. And, you know, the numbers aren't great, but he's a really good rebounder, really good defender. He's sneaky size, like you mentioned. I could see if the ball starts to go in a little bit, mainly because of the defense and the versatility. There's like some Nick Batum kind of, you know, bit younger Nick Batum comps there, where he's longer than you think. He's you know, can play. He can play 4 right now. Obviously, Batum kind of came to that later. But I agree. I think he's grown as a passer this year, as his role has kind of, he's had to do a little bit of different stuff now that, you know, Washington is really a very different team in terms of the way it operates offensively. It's not so heliocentric anymore. But no, I think too, the defensive versatility is huge. Just because like KCP is a good defender, Kyle Kuzma is a good defender. And yet Avdija still is a guy that they are willing to move around and like
they
try
definitely
on
move him
different
around
guys.
more than everyone.
Yeah, that's a big deal, right? That is for a young guy too. That it's, you know, he's not as familiar with guys around the league as some of the older players are, and he still holds up so well defensively. Even if the shot doesn't go in, even if he doesn't become even a league average shooter, I think he still has real value because he knows what to do. He has good feel. He can pass the ball and he's going to defend. So I think maybe you want more than that from a number 9 pick. But who's to, you know, they could still get more, but I think if you don't get it, I think he's still really good.
And look, I'll take 62 to 65% shooting at the rim when you look at the quality of looks he's taking, which feel a lot of the time self-inflicted. I will say that. Well, and there are people who have watched the Wizards way more than I have, I'm sure. And there's been some promise to his mid-range game. Like he's at 43% for his career. I don't know that I like that over a quarter of his attempts for his career are coming from mid-range, but does that give you hope for his 3-pointer? I honestly don't know. I think the 3-pointer is probably the swing skill for him because I think there's a better finisher in there somewhere. And it might look, especially this season, it might have been some of the finishing stuff is definitely a symptom of what their spacing has looked like at times. I think that hurt Spencer Dinwiddie a lot at points too while he was there, aside from him being miscast off the ball when he was playing alongside Beal for certain stretches. But yeah, he's another one of those youngsters because he's 21. He just turned 21 recently, I think. I'm just very intrigued by his career arc. I wouldn't call him a star, but like it just feels like there's a very high end outcome, or there's a variety of outcomes for him, and the peak is higher than I think a lot of people expect. But I'm not ready. I can't even remember who you used this for. I'm mad that I forgot. You called him a potential all-star, and it caught me off guard on this podcast. I'm not going to go that far with him, but I can't remember which team it was for now, and I'm angry at myself.